always feel, what can I do? I'm all alone.
People talk about oneness and I wonder what they're talking about.
How do I have to be in order for you to be free?
Everything in this world is a part of us, and we're a part of it.
Try and understand what is life about, what is death, what motivates us, what makes us happy, what makes us miserable. Why do we all the time move from one issue to another? Why is it that we love youth, vigor and vitality? Why is it that we are scared of major changes or, if you like, major difficulties and events like that? What is it?
Something that our heart touches that expands us beyond our own limited selves.
And that is the oneness that is taught by us, by our old people, always that. There was never a separation.
Basically, the human makeup is a very simple one. We are made up of two entities. One is an evolved animal, that's who we are. We have contained within us the knowledge of all other animals, and we have evolved from a cell. 500 million years ago, it was one cell, began to replicate. Then came all of the other small little things, ending up with the reptiles and with the, more, advanced, if you like, animals, and of course eventually the Homo sapiens, us. We have that evolutionary push in us to survive, to grow, to be powerful, to dominate, to conquer, like a lion, like a monkey. But equally, the Adamic rise, which may have happened 100, 200,000 years ago, brought something else to that, if you like, survivalist, evolutionarist type of a being, coasting along, just eating, sleeping, and then dying. That is the Adamic rise. And that is the frontal lobe. That is where the Quran also says, فَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ. That is where these energies called compassion, patience, love, all of these are within this frontal lobe. It didn't exist before. An ape doesn't quite know what compassion is. They have a bit of emotions, but they don't know what forgiveness is as such, or to be patient totally. They're spontaneous. They live the moment and they die. We have a past, present, and future. We want to know what time is. How can we stretch time? What is eternity? All of these questions arose because of the higher element of Adam. Us, So we are two. We are, if you like, have within us that animal side and have superimposed on it something far greater, which is, if you like, the divine side. So we are both humanity and divinity. That's why we're all the time searching for the Insan al-Kamil, or God walking on earth, or Jesus Christ, all of those other things.
There's only one thing that is moving the ocean, and we are like one wave on these infinite forms of waves.
This source that provides intuition is oneness.
And I think paradoxically, the notion and the perspective of oneness opens us up to the diversity of things as they are.
We are one world. We are one people. We're all indigenous to this planet.
We must acknowledge the fact that we are within space and time, with limitations. But equally, none of us would want to be stuck constantly in that limitation. That is why all of the addictions, that is why the love of oblivion, drugs, alcohol, all of that. Now, equally what nature had done for its propagation, it has given us a great deal of mental if you like, brain waves of pleasures when you are in a good state of relaxed, or during the sexual intercourse, whatever. All of these imply that we are hardwired for joy and pleasure. Now, with the Adamic frontal lobe, you can tap in to the old system, which is hardwired. Yeah. So people who meditate or pray or chant or go into dhikr and so on, they can resurrect circuitries in their brain that produces serotonin and other things, which gives us well-beingness. So we are both. We are earthly, heavenly. Now, the issue of love essentially is that what connects diverse entities. There are many, many levels of love. For example, friendship, or just the basic elements of compassion, being human, being, you know. There are so, and then liking, and then loving, and then eventually it ends up with passion. Now, what happens with ordinary, if you like, human love, if you take a youngster, an 18-year-old boy and a girl, they've fallen in love. You know there's something different about them. Each one of them also is happier. Yet they know there is never going to be absolute fulfillment. You know, even if they get married, what happens when both of them are in their 70s? Are they still with that passion and with all of the other hormonal explosion as when they were 19? Not possible. So there is always a certain lacing of, I wouldn't call it sorrow, but apprehension. You're not sure that that passion that you die for the other will last. But why is it they are elevated? Simply because they have reduced their ego. There is less of their ego, less of the lower self, more of the higher self.
So how to collectively wake up? I don't know.
We may wake up from a funny dream.
A large percentage of the world could decide to do something different out of a collective inspiration.
To give, to be charitable, to be friendly. All of these are different glues of connecting different entities or beings. This glue is called love. Like any glue that you go and buy in a supermarket, there are dozens of variations. Some of them are very easy, simple wood glue. Some of them are exceptionally hard, and you know they can bind together very different materials. So love is a unifier. Unifies diverse entities. That's what love is. Anything that is strange and odd and different, you know, in a sense, can be connected through love. Yeah. So I consider love is the connector of diverse entities that are in themselves do not seem to have much in common. So in a way, love finishes duality. Love destroys two-ness, pluralities, he and me, she and it, this country and that country. If there is love, there is none. It is the source of Tawheed. That is what Tawheed, in a sense, manifests in this world. So if you like, it is the way the divine begins to, in a way, put its networks around everything and connects it. So then also, love finishes freedom. Because freedom is an illusion. We are free of what? I cannot be free from needs such as to breathe or to rest or to eat. I'm not free. I am completely, utterly caught within those limitations. So love again ends that. That's why I said even youngsters, when they fall in love, he's no longer full of himself and so on. He's very much concerned about his beloved. So his freedom is ended for that particular, if you like, situation. So love is the ender, is the killer, it brings the conclusion to this fantasy of divergences, differences, multiplicities. It finishes it.
we have to make the structures of society unwilling to bear separation as a way of approaching things.
What if this reality can change? What would it look like?
How and why was love turned into hate at some point?
There is nothing in this world without its opposite. Yeah. So love cannot exist without the other side of the coin, yeah, which is called hate.
Yeah.
Goodness cannot exist without badness. And they all change according to space and time. What was good yesterday may not be good today. And so on and so forth. On an individual basis, on a natural basis, on a national basis, doesn't matter. So all of these exchange and interchange according to space and time. Their origin is divine. So if I say I like this, it's very good, what's good for me now will be poison for me tomorrow or in 10 years time or whatever. So, but if I say I want the essence of goodness, it never changes. The essence of goodness never changes. Yeah. So that is why I say if we also look for the origin of Tawheed, what has brought about this universe with its diversities. A beautiful object. It's wonderful to like a beautiful object, a beautiful flower. But it is a sign, it is a hook for me to go for beauty rather than a beautiful object. Yeah. So it is beauty that I am after. The same thing is about unity. I am after Allah. The one and only. Everything else is fantasy. It's an illusion. Life is an illusion. Fantasy, but it's an illusion that will lead to the divine conclusion. Yeah. So I don't deny that illusion. It's a healthy illusion provided I see through it. Yeah. That there is only that one that has no beginning and no end, and I am here within space and time in order to know more of it and be passionately in love with it. That love has no beginning and no end. Every other love, if you measure it according to the passion for the one beyond space and time, then you know how durable that love is. So if I love truth, for example, that is endless. But if I simply love a fast car, next year there will be other models. So I'll be disappointed. Or if I simply love this girl because she's beautiful and young, 50 years' time she'll have, false teeth or whatever. So the more durable that love is, in other words, it's not subject to change, time or space, the more it's going to last. And if I think that he or she will give me full fulfillment, then of course I'm mistaken. Because I will not be the same in 10 years' time. My ideas will change. It is a process. This life is a process, if you like, of work in progress. We're not the same any day, no two people. Health, exposure, education, knowledge, so we change. But if I love utter tranquility, inner peace, with no description, then I love meditation, which takes me to another realm, beyond space and time. That is why we need always to think in terms of the two-folded consciousness. I am conscious of my loving this food or this person or this house or clothes, but this is a limited consciousness and it will change and it is confined and it is conditioned, which is only in fact this limited consciousness of individuality, I and you and he, and is a stream emanating from pure consciousness, God consciousness, taqwa consciousness. So the more this limited consciousness refers to the higher consciousness, the more it is durable. That is why also the Quran says constantly, check it with God, return it to Allah, astaghfirullah, rudduhu ilallah, furru ilallah, anibu ilallah. What does it mean? It means this limited consciousness of mine, which will change in time, will be more durable, more sustainable, more real if I calibrate it with God consciousness, which is not subject to change. Otherwise, I fall into emotional traps and the ups and the downs and all of the usual dramas that we all create in this world. That's why we have such chaos. It's quite understandable.
In your book, Shaykh Fadhlalla, the one that's writing there, happiness in life and after death, you wrote something about modern science such as physics, chemistry, mathematics, especially quantum mechanics, provide numerous models of what life after death could be like. Could you elaborate on that?
I enjoy basic popular physics, chemistry and so on. And as I mentioned earlier also, I think we are very much in a way affected by our brain. And the brain is an event system, which is based on, again, on physics and chemistry. So if we understand that, then we understand the subtler lights behind it. Same thing in terms of what happens in higher consciousness, beyond normal consciousness, which we all love. We all want to be in a state that is, if you like, bliss. Now, in the sense of nuclear physics, we have a very clear indication of, for example, that the entire system is based on uncertainty. We can never be certain of the position of the electron and its potential or its energy at the same time. So it's one or the other. And we will influence it by measuring it. So if the foundation of existence is based on a situation that is not solid, or if you like, this is the building block of life, which would have been, which was easy 100 years ago, believing in that the atom is like a little brick and everything else. There's no such thing. Subtler energies, quarks, and subtler and endless. Now, if the foundation of all of what we consider as our universe is not perceivable, understandable by our brain, it implies that it belongs to another system of consciousness. And that system of consciousness, in a way, is our origin, because we are yearning for it. Therefore, I think religion and, for example, nuclear physics and astrophysics are going to be more and more higher religion, spiritual religion, more and more resonating together. I see so many wonderful points in the Quran, and I understand them far better by looking into, if you like, what are the main parameters in existence. You know, for example, you have got the 4 dimensions of space and time, and then you have light and the speed of light. Now, what happens if you travel at the speed of light? What happens if you are riding on a light wave at the speed of 300,000 kilometers per second? According to physics, according to nuclear physics, that entity will have a mass of infinity, beyond measure. So that is why if we become light, it's beyond measure in terms of its weight. I understand so many possibilities for that in the religious sense, that the more you have abandoned into the divine light, the more in that system you have weight.
Yeah.
You're talking about, for example, the hereafter and people being weighed. Those who are very lightweight, they are thrown away into hell, and those who are heavyweight. In other words, that other dimension, higher, if you like, consciousness, is what is our original stuff made of, the command of Allah, so to speak. يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحَ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي, from the divine, from your Lord's command. It means it is not nothing. It is not made of matter that we can discern. It's energy of a very high order, subtler beyond any subtlety. So that's why I said earlier on, we are a combination of material existence, based also on the movements of whatever. After millions of years, it has evolved. We have a brain, we have memory, But equally, there is a higher consciousness, God consciousness, that propels us. That's why nothing is good enough. No matter how much I have, power, wealth, status, position, not good enough. Because I want to go beyond the limitations. And therefore, my true makeup is a combination of beyond limitations, heavenly and earthly. I must address both. I cannot deny the earthly and be monastic. It won't work. I must address it. Whether it is love of nature, food, beauty, whatever, sex, we must address it properly with the limitations, so that the limitless begins to be more and more accessible. We are both. Limited entity with a beginning and an end, birth and death, and the limitless soul is not subject to space and time. That is the good news. So the more myself refers to the soul, the more frequently it refers to its soul, which if you like, you can even call it your personal God. But all souls are the same. All of the arwah are the same. They are sparks of God. But the extent of the soul is covered by the nafs and by the personality and the ego. That is what differs. That is why if we are truly together in the higher spiritual sense, we will have no differences. And our outer differences will become pleasurable. Because we have now gone into the origin of love, which is oneness. So I only see the same you as me and him, and so therefore there will be no serious, if you like, disagreement. Death is one of the most, if not the most important issue in human life. And the more we address it with reflection and with wisdom, the more we first of all realize rationally every one of us will taste it. In fact, we are practicing it every night with a mini death as we sleep. And that, so death is a more restful, longer, beyond time, if you like, sleep. So the more we address it, the more we are aware of it, the more we remember it, the more we see people dead without the emotionality that this is a natural conclusion to a birth. So they cannot be one without the other. They cannot be birth without death. They cannot be high without low. They cannot be... The more we address it, the more we come to the point as to what will die. All what is happening is that this amazing complex body will return back to its elements. All of these molecules will end up to be wherever they were, and part of that pool of energy and matter on Earth. And energy and matter, if you like, is limited in its completeness. There's no addition, no subtraction. The first law of thermodynamics. Now, so then I will reconcile on that. Then I begin to see, but who am I? Who am I? What makes me go for this and that and not for the other? I begin to discover really I am totally caught in the quest of passionate love of that which never ever changes. In fact, a good definition of religion is that it is the human endeavor for that which lasts. It's a good definition. So I am, all of us, we are passionately seeking that which lasts. Now the representative of that which lasts, Allah Azza wa Jal, God, is in you. So that is who I really am. Therefore, why would I be scared of leaving body or the prison which has been carried by it behind? Once I've discovered fully that in truth, my essence, my origin, the light in my heart has no beginning and no end and is not subject to time, I am relieved from this fear. Now the fear of God has been put in us by nature so as we don't destroy the body too early. So as we care for it. So I identify with my body. This is a lovely body and we all put up... So I can carry on. Otherwise, everybody will jump from everywhere, and this, extreme sports will destroy half of the world population. But since I love this body, this is me looking in the mirror. What about looking in the mirror of your heart? That will tell you the real you is light. Yeah. And it is through that light that you begin to discover the shadow. And this shadow has been there in order for you to discover the light. End of story. That's the meaning of Allah says, I was a hidden treasure and I love to be known. Yes. So a sample of that treasure, a light, a spark of that treasure is in me. So that is what I'm here to discover. That Allah's presence is everywhere. There is none other than Allah.
So really, in essence, we all, regardless whatever camp we belong to or whatever flag we wave, religious flag, we all really are the same.
Well, you see, my understanding again is going back to the evolutionary side and survival. We have come from a very, if you like, basic background of the earliest thing that human beings aspire for is again, are to do part of the divine names, is baqa, remain, survive, hayy, life. But then when Adam, the Adamic, if you like, mutation or whatever it was, or the fall of Adam, which I consider also the rise of Adam, because if you don't fall, you don't rise, is to do with the frontal lobe and knowledges that can supersede the basics, if you like, of human need and acquisition and survival, and very crude survival. So from maybe 100, 200,000 years ago, we emerged from the same origin. So we are all the children of Adam, all of us. Now, then of course, with the spread in the earth, and if you like, the differences in human psyche, and some of them lived longer, better life, the rise of prophets and messengers and so on over the last few thousand years, 5, 6, 7,000 years. In that wake up, now there is a purpose for you. You're not what you were 200,000 years ago, just eating and living and dying. You are here in order to discover the light and the delight and the joy of that discovery, the good news. Inna arsalnaka shahidan, first to witness, then mubashiran, the good news, then nadhiran, and if you don't do it, you are miserable, then wada'iyan ilallahi bi'idhnih. So the prophets arose, thousands upon thousands, different language, different cultures, and everybody thinks that they are the God-chosen people. It has to be. If you are not brought up well and your mother had not really loved you initially the first few months and so on, and your father, you're all the time now looking for approval and this and that, and you're damaged, when the clay was still not baked as a baby. So we all think we are special, not realizing that we are all the same, wanting the same, and that our inner is exactly the same no matter who you are. But our culture, our religion, our practices, our rituals differ. Therefore, that's what I said earlier, tolerance, compassion is the only way, there is no other way, but it can only arise when I have discovered I am none of these things that I thought I am. Yeah. I've taken all my clothes off. And in reality, I am a spark of divine light because of Allah wanted to be known and His infinite vastness beyond space and time and my lifetime. What a great gift. The ultimate treasure of treasures is in me. But I've been looking around stupidly, accumulating a bit of wealth here, a bit of this here, a bit of reputation. Once I begin to be amazed and, if you like, exploding all these myths by the truth of that amazingly powerful light in me, by Allah's rahmah, by Allah's mercy, as Allah has decreed, then none of these things matter. I say, well, of course, Bismillah. It doesn't mean that I will stop wanting justice on earth. It doesn't mean that I don't realize that there is a lot of injustice and a lot of abusiveness. But then it comes to, is there anything I can do about it? I should do it. Whether it is by deed, by tongue, and if there isn't, well, it's only going to add more complexity to the discord, to the chaos. So, at the end of the day, each one of us we need to, not just must, to discover that in truth we are made up of an animal and of a divine light. Do not deny the animal, but always acknowledge the divine light. Refer to it, and you will be in this world, but not of this world.